UFC 251 wrapped up a couple days ago. I took a little time to get to this video, but I'm still going to break it all down. What happened, the winners, the losers, and what's next for the fighters involved in that main card. This is your boy JG, Exaggeration and Experience. Let's go. Like I always say, y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is your boy JG, Exaggeration and Experience. UFC 251, the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal for the welterweight strap. It went down. The card was actually pretty good in my opinion. I know there's been some grumblings about what happened in the main event, or if that's exciting fighting, or is that really what it's supposed to be, and this and the other, but we're going to get into all that. I wanted to spend some time on all of the bouts from top to bottom, just to highlight the card and how it went down, and the success that UFC Fight Island had, and those numbers that they did, and what that means, and some of the storylines that came from that card. So starting off, you had Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt. Shout out to Paige Van Zandt. That is your last bout on your UFC contract. Ribas gave you that work, nice and easy, armbarred you up, and got you right out the door. There's not a lot to say about this fight. One of the things that stuck out to me is when the fight was over, just kind of the body language. I mean, you never want to take an L. I think, I definitely know you don't want to take an L. I think that one of the things for me, just watching Paige go into the bout, get folded, get rolled up like, a yoga mat, and then get submitted. And then, they read off the announcement. You got the referee there. You have your opponent, Amanda Ribas. And she just looked like she was ready to be out of it, ready to go. So it's a wrap for her. Good luck testing that open market. I don't know if it's the best idea or best look to go out with just loss after loss. Banking on the fact that you have a nice smile, or people, think you do your thing. I know winning goes a long way in sports. So best of luck to you. Shout out to Amanda Ribas, who came in there, did her thing, armbarred her up, and looked impressive doing it in very short order. So shout out to both those combatants. Best of luck to Paige Van Zandt. We'll see where you land and what that looks like. Not the best look going out. We move on then to the second bout of the evening. If I got this in appropriate order, I might not. I actually might not have this in appropriate order, but I'm gonna just rock with it. Thug Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. One of my favorite fights of the evening. Great fight. I think Rose was doing her thing in the first bout. When she was a champion, got dumped on her noggin, got her brains knocked out a little bit, and Andrade got that strap before she got folded up by Zhang. But they revisit the bout. It's a good fight. It was a great fight. I thought that coming out, Rose looked really good. She moved well, like she always does. She got comfortable very early into this fight, which I think is a good thing. She utilized her height and reach advantage. She played the range game and distance very, very well. And she looked fantastic. Now, as you start to wear in and fighters make adjustments, Andrade was able to really start finding her way halfway through, let's say, the second round. The head movement was crazy. Now, if you go back and rewatch and listen to the commentary, they'll tell you, the head movement for Andrade is just giving Rose a lot of trouble. In the beginning, it wasn't. Rose was doing a good job, moving her feet, landing the jab at will, throwing 1-2s, threatening with the kicks, and really having her way. But it wasn't until Andrade really started to establish her range and what she needed to do to settle her feet and establish where she's going to be coming from an offensive perspective, the fight got real interesting. If you go into the third round, Andrade starts landing heat, heavy shot, nice power, battered Rose, busted up nose, crazy looking eye. I talked about Mark Hominick. She had a Mark Hominick on her eye, or she had a crazy Donald Cerrone eye. His shit was looking crazy too. But nonetheless, I had Rose winning the fight fairly easily. I see where Jessica Andrade had her success. It was a split decision victory for Namajunas, and it was good to see her. I'd be hard on Thug Rose sometimes. I'd be hard on her, but I think she's an exceptional fighter. She moves really, really well on her feet. She looks fluid and natural, and I think she's one of the best strikers in any women's division. Just as from a technical and a fluidity standpoint, she knows exactly what she's doing in there. And it was good to see her get back in the ring, the cage, get a W, and look good doing it. And it wasn't a bad showing for Andrade. It just really wasn't. But I think that Namajunas is a better fighter. And I think that played out in the fight. So shout out to both those combatants. That was a really good fight. Probably my second favorite fight of the evening. Moving on to my definitely my favorite fight of the evening. Peter Yan versus the King of Rio, Jose Aldo Jr. What? So I've watched that fight now twice, maybe 3 times, and it was really actually an outstanding fight. Take the stoppage out of there, and we'll get into why I feel like that happened. That was a good ass fight, straight up. Yan is not normal. I think that this dude is on some other type. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Yan. The other thing that I talked about in another video is I don't think 35 is a place for Aldo. Because I think the things that make him exceptional, special, and talented, and so very, dangerous and vicious as a fighter, they get taken out of him, making that weight, cutting all the way down to 135 pounds. I think that's a lot on him. You go back and you watch that fight, measuring, figuring out this and that, let's get ranked, blah, 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 blah. That happens for the first 2.5 minutes. But then these guys start to open up. Shout out to Aldo, leg kicks. He revisited those for a little bit. I wish he would have stayed kind of more to that game because he was hurting Yan, dropped Yan on the leg kick, and continued to turn him around with vicious leg kicks. Yan had a nice jab, did a good job staying in front, applying continuous pressure, being sound defensively, and then throwing heavy right hands that he could not miss with. Shout out like Maidana. If you think about Maidana when he fought Victor Ortiz, the right hand couldn't miss, and that was very similar to how Yan was getting it done. Just nice and easy setup, head movement, step forward with a jab, shield, right hand over the top, and landing on that nugget for Aldo. Aldo comes back round 2, round 3, and he looks spectacular. You see him start ripping to the body multiple times in a row. Change levels, rip to the body with a 3, come up top, rip to the body with a 3 again. But Yan ate it. He ate it like lunch. Those were vicious shots, and I don't know if he was pissing blood the next day or not, but what I can tell you is Aldo was getting off and doing his thing and landing vicious to the body. Like I said before, leg kicks were good, and he started changing it up and going upstairs and downstairs and really scoring effectively. The difference to me was this, and this is a common theme for Aldo fights. Once he gets to the end of the 3rd, moving into the 4th, he starts to run out of steam. And for Yan, he was there for all of that. Damage, cardio, all of that. He was there for all of that. So Yan, he just keeps applying the same game plan, doing damage, landing heavy shots. He starts to mix in his own kicks a little bit. He gets the fight to the ground and just does heavy ground and pound. Gets Aldo out of there. There's been some controversy about that fight could have been stopped earlier and this, that, and the third. And I see that. But for a vacant strap, 135 pounds, you have a legend in Aldo in there, and Yan, who's up and coming cat doing his thing. I don't know if I'm mad at letting that go to the point where you just don't have a choice to stop it anymore. Aldo ain't no punk. He ain't go out like a punk. Quite honestly, if you rewatch that fight, he fought really well. He just gets hit too much. He has a Thai style, so he stands right in front. Head movement is not really his deal. He depends on his reflexes. He doesn't really set up the misses the way that's kind of appropriate for a boxing style like Yan coming from a boxing background, and he paid for it. And I think that his gas tank is questionable at 135 pounds if you can't get a guy out of there. But I still think he fought well. Congratulations to Yan. He's the new champ for right now, 135 pounds. I think Aljamain Sterling should be next for that belt. And I think that he's a very complete fighter. It's going to take a complete fighter to beat a guy like Yan. But the way that he's able to wear damage and just push forward and implement his game plan, that's scary. That's scary. So if you're a guy going into a bout fighting a guy like Peter Yan, you have to know that it's not likely going to be a shot that gets him out of there. It's you dominating him, beating him down, outworking him, out-cardioing him, confusing him, and just making him will under your pressure if you can apply it before you can get him out of there. So shout out to Aldo. That's my guy still. Shout out to Yan, the new champ. Henry Cejudo was on the internet talking that shit. So we'll see what that's about. Last time I checked, he said he had a girlfriend and he left the sport. So we're gonna see what that's about. Before I move on to the next bout, Aldo Jr. said he feels good after the loss and he's gonna come back better than ever. And I actually believe that. I just don't know if it's at 135 pounds. But then it gets confusing because what's he gonna do at 45? You fought Volkanovski, got shut out. You got stopped twice by Max Holloway. So I don't know what's next for him. But shout out to that dude. He my guy. Shout out to Rio. Shout out to Brazil. Shout out to Aldo Jr. Shout out to new chap, Peter Yan. You did your thing, Playboy. You got your box on, you know, offhand nice and high, and you did your thing. Let's go. Moving to the co-main event, Max Holloway, blessed. The great one, Alexander Volkanovski. I don't even want to spend that much time on this fight because I'm just a little bit perplexed about how it played out. I think Max Holloway looked great. Initially, Volkanovski looked very flat. He did not look himself. That could be a product of the layoff, the travel, adjustments made in training camp, or just how good Max Holloway got off, the start that he got off to. But he looked flat, and it showed. He got dropped twice, first round and second round. And Max just looked like he was doing whatever he wanted to do. So I'm looking at the fight and thinking to myself, okay, this is what it's going to be. Midway through the third, exiting the third round, Volkanovski starts to really find his way. The fourth and fifth rounds really look like his type of rounds. He starts to attempt the wrestling. But at the end of the day, I feel like Max Holloway was a better fighter, did more on the feet. The numbers suggest and show that he was more comfortable, and he won that fight. And it's one of the things that we do this. So we talking about it, we having a conversation about it, or you listen to me talk about it. So, your opinion is definitely be valued coming back this direction. But for me, I understand when people say, oh, well, you got to just blow the champ out and do all this extra stuff. Nah, that's not true. If I'm better for more rounds than you are, then I win the fight. And a lot of judging is subjective in nature. But if you rewatch that fight, especially getting put down twice, one by a kick and I think one by a punch in those first two rounds, and then having some be close here and there, the third being really close, and then the fourth or fifth, especially the fifth, I'm willing to give to Volkanovski. Rewatch that fight. Max won that fight. Shout out to both those combatants. The blessed one, hailing from Hawaii, Max Holloway. Shout out to Alexander Volkanovski for his title defense. I wonder what it looks like for him moving forward at 145 pounds. Who are going to be the guys that want to compete for that strap? I think Max is still the man. I really do. But I take nothing away from Volkanovski. He did his thing. And sometimes it really is just enough in those championship bouts not to get blown out or stopped viciously. So shout out to those two. That was a great fight. Very entertaining, high-level fight. That's another thing I like about it. There was adjustments made. There was no crazy winging nonsense. It was two guys who knew what they were doing or knew what they wanted to do and put on an entertaining fight. So shout out to them. Moving on to the main event of the evening, UFC 251. Kamaru Usman defending his strap, welterweight strap, 170 pounds, against Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, coming in on 6 days' notice, cutting 19-20 pounds in that period of time, getting on the scale, making weight, and showing up to fight. Testing negative, for COVID-19 like 38 times, and really saving that event. Now, in a previous video, I talked about what he brings to the table. Now, the numbers are out. So 1.3 million buys. You haven't seen numbers like that since Khabib McGregor. That's not an accident. That's what Masvidal brings to the table. Hate it or love it, it just is what it is. I talked about that in 2 previous videos. When you add him to the card, shout out to Gilbert Burns. Nobody's hating on you. You're a tremendous fighter. You're on a crazy run right now, beating a lot of good guys. But cats are checking for Masvidal. Casuals are checking for Masvidal. If you're not really rocking with MMA, you don't even know what Gilbert Burns brings to the table. So that was going to be an automatic upgrade for that card. And I think that if it was Gilbert Burns on that card, the UFC brass is still looking at it and thinking to themselves, well, if you look at this card from top to bottom, it's a great card, and that's true. Although Yan, Namajunas, Andrade, Volkanovski, Holloway, that's star-studded. So you can get away with a kind of, a lackluster main event, thinking about Gilbert Burns, thinking about Kamaru Usman. But then you kind of get saved because, unfortunately, or not Usman, but Gilbert Burns tests positive for COVID-19. They reach out to Masvidal. He says he can make it happen, and that card gets a massive bump, straight up. But let's get into the breakdown of the fight. Shout out to Kamaru Usman. He's a champ, defended his belt for the second time, beat Colby Covington, beat Jorge Masvidal. I did a breakdown of the fight. I gave my prediction. I said my head says Usman, my heart says Masvidal. And then I said a caveat. I'm gonna be disappointed if this fight looks like he came in on 6 days notice. That video's up. It's already posted. You can check it out. I said that. And for me, it looked like he came in on 6 days notice. I also talked about or alluded to the wrestling. He was going to be a far better wrestler than people had alluded to. Kamaru Usman wasn't really able to do anything with the control that he was able to attain, and didn't get the really big, devastating takedowns until the 4th and 5th round when Masvidal was already out of gas. And even those came with a lot of work. So that's something you got to, kind of put in your memory bank as far as a dude coming on 6 days notice, fighting a guy like Kamaru Usman, who you know is a grappling savant, and putting up a more than adequate fight in that arena in an effort to establish middle range and then get punches and kicks and combinations off. For Usman, I think one of the things he needs to think about and put in his memory bank is in middle range, you're getting touched a lot. Kick to the body, combinations upstairs, lead hand strikes, uppercuts, all that good stuff is landing. You got to figure out a way to get out of the way a little better. A stronger guy with fluidity might give a Usman trouble, but you have to be a complete fighter. But he got touched. He got touched a lot. The fight was cool. The fight was cool. I don't want to take credit away from Kamaru Usman. He won fair and square. He did what he needed to do to win. But the one thing that I would allude to is that's a massive opportunity to solidify and or grow your fan base. And you played it safe in that fight. You played it safe. Your primary responsibility, that's just what I just said before, that's kind of an option that you have available to you. But your primary responsibility is to go in there, secure the win, and keep your strap. And that's what he did. But when it comes to cashing big checks, growing the sport, and growing your fan base, you might have to take some risks. And I think as dangerous as striker Masvidal is, he's a diminished opponent coming in on short notice. You can take a couple of risks. And if you can tag or touch or maybe put on your butt a little bit, that's cool. Shoot the power double like he was doing, and then go back to your place in space and do your thing. Overall, UFC 251 Fight Island, in my mind, was a success. Obviously, they did big numbers. Shout out to Jorge Masvidal, 6 days notice, and not make an ass of himself. He fought well, but he looked like 6 days notice. He's a tremendous fighter, tremendous athlete, tremendous heart. He did his thing. Kamaru Usman looked dominant in spots, controlled the pace. He made it his fight, and he retained that strap. They alluded to Gilbert Burns being next. I'd like to see an immediate rematch. I think that will be something that would do numbers. You're talking about full camp for both combatants. Hopefully no one testing positive for COVID-19, and then both of them going out there and putting on a show that we want to see. Now, I can't guarantee that it's going to be any different than what it was, but you're going to see different aspects of that fight. It's going to look different. Yeah, you know what? I can't do that. That's going to be a different fight with a full camp, understanding, and that's for both opponents. Because Masvidal can say, okay, well, I have information now, I have data. Usman can say the same thing. Who can make the adjustments? How much can Usman grow as a fighter when we know the one thing that Masvidal can do is just go and get in shape, get his body right, get it tight, and come in with a full gas tank? We know he can do that. That's nothing. That's not even about making strategic adjustments in a bout. That's just about making sure you're in shape. What does Usman do from this point? It does get challenging trying to make adjustments to fight someone completely new on a short period of time when you've been preparing for something else. But at a minimum, at the end of the day, you get to come into shape. I think that's something that's a fair assessment. But with all that being said, this is your boy JG. We went a little long on this one, so if you've made it this far, you definitely a real one. Please like, subscribe, bell icon for notification. Share this video if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, at least talk some shit in the comment section. If you guys don't know, there's a fight this evening. I believe it's on Fight Island, but it's Calvin Kattar versus Ing. That will guarantee violence. So give that a shout. I'll definitely cover that fight when it's over. This is your boy JG. Exaggeration and experience. We stay on top of things. Shout out to my man Double M. We out.